The air crackles with an unnatural heat, a prelude to the inferno that's about to erupt. I can smell the acrid scent of gasoline, a sickly sweet perfume masking a deadly intent. It's everywhere, saturating the carpets, the furniture, the very air I breathe. I'm in my office, on the top floor of the building I built, the empire I created from nothing. Innovations Tech. The name is emblazoned in sleek, modern letters on the wall behind my desk, a testament to years of relentless work, sleepless nights, and unwavering ambition. I'd been working late, as usual, poring over the final designs for Project Nightingale, our revolutionary new AI software. It was going to change everything, disrupt the entire tech landscape. It was my masterpiece, and Marcus knew it. Marcus Bellwether, my partner, my confidant, the man I'd trusted implicitly since we were college roommates, sketching out impossible dreams on napkins in a dingy diner. He'd always been the business guy, the smooth talker, the one who handled the investors and the marketing. I was the tech guy, the brains behind the operation, the one who built the magic. We were supposed to be an unstoppable team. A sudden sharp sound, a metallic click, snaps me out of my reverie. I look up and my blood runs cold. Marcus stands in the doorway, a Zippo lighter in his hand, his face illuminated by the flickering flame. His expression is chilling. There's no trace of the easygoing charm he usually wears. His eyes are hard, calculating, devoid of any warmth. Marcus, "What the hell are you doing?" I ask, my voice trembling slightly, a knot of dread forming in my stomach. I can't process what I am seeing. He doesn't answer immediately. He just stares at me, a slow, predatory smile spreading across his lips. It's a smile that sends shivers down my spine, a smile that speaks of betrayal, of malice, of something utterly inhuman. "You always were too smart for your own good, John," he finally says, his voice low and steady, a stark contrast to the frantic beating of my heart. "Nightingale. It's brilliant, revolutionary, and it's all mine now." The lighter flicks open, the flame dances, and with a flick of his wrist he tosses it onto the gasoline-soaked carpet. The world explodes in a whoosh of orange and yellow. The fire spreads with terrifying speed. It's like a living thing, a ravenous beast, devouring everything in its path. The heat is intense, unbearable, scorching my skin, stealing my breath. "Why, Marcus?" I scream, my voice cracking, already hoarse from the smoke. I scramble back from my desk, trying to put some distance between myself and the rapidly advancing flames. But it's no use. The office is a death trap. He watches me, his silhouette framed by the inferno, his face a mask of cold indifference. He doesn't even bother to answer my question. He doesn't have to. The answer is there, in the flames, in the burning wreckage of my life's work, in the cold, hard glint in his eyes. Greed, ambition, betrayal. I try to make a run for the door, but the flames are already licking at the frame, cutting off my escape. The heat is searing, the smoke is blinding, choking me. I cough, sputter, my lungs burning, my eyes watering. I can feel my skin blistering, my hair singeing. I stumble, fall to my knees, overwhelmed by the heat, the smoke, the sheer terror of the situation. I see the ceiling start to crack, the support beams groaning under the intense heat. This is it. This is how it ends. My thoughts race. Sarah, my wife, the love of my life. We were supposed to grow old together, travel the world, and start a family. All those dreams, all those plans, reduced to ashes. The thought of her grief, of her pain, is a sharper agony than the physical pain I'm enduring. A wave of anger, of pure, unadulterated rage, surges through me, momentarily eclipsing the fear. Marcus, he did this. He stole my life, my future, my everything. He betrayed me in the most horrific way possible. "You won't get away with this, Marcus," I managed to scream, my voice a ragged whisper lost in the roar of the flames. "I swear I'll haunt you to your dying day." The ceiling collapses, a cascade of burning debris raining down on me. The last thing I see is Marcus's face, still framed by the flames, a flicker of something in his eyes. Is it fear, regret, or just the reflection of the inferno he's created? Then there's only darkness. But it's not a peaceful darkness. It's a darkness filled with rage, with hatred, with a burning, unquenchable thirst for revenge. I'm dead, but I'm not gone. My spirit, my essence is tethered to this place, fueled by the injustice of my death, by the betrayal of my friend. The transition is disorienting. I feel a sensation of being ripped apart, of being pulled in two directions. One part of me, the physical part, is consumed by the flames. The other part, the me part, is ejected, flung into a strange liminal space. I can still see the fire, the destruction, but it's as if I'm looking at it through a distorted lens. The colors are muted, the sounds are muffled, the world is veiled. I see the firefighters arrive, their efforts futile, their movements slow and clumsy. I see them battling the blaze, unaware that the architect of the inferno is standing right there, watching with them, playing the role of the concerned partner. I try to scream, to shout, to point them to Marcus, but my voice is nothing. A whisper lost in the wind. I try to touch them, to grab their attention, but my hands pass right through them. I'm a ghost, a phantom, an unseen witness to my own murder. The rage intensifies, a cold, hard knot in my spectral chest. It's a physical sensation, a burning presence that anchors me to this place, to this moment. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to make Marcus pay. He may have escaped human justice, but he won't escape mine. This is my vow, my promise, my curse. The building itself seems to shudder, as if acknowledging my spectral oath. A cold wind whips through the destroyed upper floors, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and something else, something ancient, something vengeful.